our next question, we'll start off with Bill. Halifax is currently debating whether it should be putting cameras in its downtown bar district to deter violence. Is this something that's needed in Truro, and why or why not?
We already do that. We have a camera and have had that camera there over 15 years, and basically it's been very helpful. And there's only one, but I haven't been on the police commission for the last 12 years. There may be another one. I know they were talking about a second location. And certainly, I will say there's a reason why you would want to have a camera. And coming up this October 15th, next Monday, there will be the release of the Municipal Alcohol Project, which focused on Truro over the past summer, of which I was the chair of that committee. And it will outline the abuses of alcohol and what it looks like in this community. And I'll sum it up with this. This is the reason why we have cameras in our area. Nothing good happens after midnight when you have alcohol and people of all ages. So if it's going to at least help somebody with regards to whether a charge is laid or not, or actually what did happen, certainly I think those people who abide by the law have nothing to worry about. Those who break the law, they do have something to worry about and should conduct themselves in an orderly fashion.
Thank you, Bill. Kelty, do you believe that cameras should be put in the downtown's bar district, and why or why not?
Well, I think that it's clear that there are cameras that are there. In my mind, cameras are a good tool for determining after the fact what might or might not have happened. However, they're generally not a deterrent. People who are inebriated and acting out in a particular area like that, they're not thinking about whether there's a camera there. In fact, probably their friends are filming it and putting it on YouTube, and they just don't care, right? So in my mind, the issue of violence and the issue of alcohol needs to be addressed in other ways. Putting up cameras, putting up enforcement after the fact is not what we need. What we need is effectively dealing with the issues that are creating the problems with alcohol and creating the situations where the activity is the alcohol, as opposed to having lots of other interesting things to do that keep people engaged and keep people active without involving the alcohol or without having the alcohol be the focus of it.
Thank you. Kelty, the current commercial tax rate in Truro is more than 2.5 times the residential rate, while businesses receive the same amount and, in many cases, fewer services than homes. Is this fair? And please explain your answer.
Tax rates are always an interesting topic, and people are always interested in having their tax rates lowered. I know that there's a lot of controversy around the commercial and the residential, but there's also the commercial districts often demand more in services, even though there may be some services that they're using a little bit less of. They also create an environment of traffic and an environment of wear and tear on the property. There's all kinds of other issues that are connected to commercial properties that justify a varied rate. Now, is it best to balance our budget by increasing the rate on our commercial properties? Absolutely not, because our commercial properties are what bring our jobs and what bring our income to the community, and we need to make sure that we're not driving them out of our communities. What we need to do is find other resources for revenue. We need to make sure that we're broadening our tax base, bringing in more taxpayers as opposed to raising the rates on the taxpayers that are already here. And along with that comes increasing the number of jobs in the community, increasing the number of people who are here in the community, and perhaps looking at some ways to increase revenue streams in our community and to our town. The town has had some good success using their water service to generate some of the revenue and to provide water service to other municipalities and other areas. I think that there's some conversations now. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go. I mean, it's all very ephemeral right now in terms of whether there's really going to be deals or not, but there's some thoughts about doing some solar farms and to create some revenue by selling electricity to Nova Scotia Power. Now, that's a very long-term solution. It's not something that can happen quickly, but it is something that we need to be exploring, because the more ways we can generate revenue for our town without increasing a tax burden on our citizens and on our commercial properties, the better.
Okay. Bill, would you like me to repeat the question?
I think I've got it pretty good. Basically, when it comes down to your commercial rate has Kelty has pointed out, certainly there are some services there that they receive that perhaps the residential may not. For example, if a bar opens in the downtown area, one bar in particular opened a number of years ago, our policing costs went up $100,000 a year from that bar being late opening at night. So, there's some other things there. There's road services and all that kind of good stuff. You're exactly right when you say that new revenue streams are very important, and that's part of it. One of our problems is for Truro is certainly being landlocked, and people come to me and they always suggest that, but taxes and business expenses for commercial enterprises in many respects are write-offs. They can write it off, whereas a residential can't unless they have some kind of a part of their building used for commercial. So you're always going to have that debate. The good news is, as far as tax rates in Nova Scotia, Truro, Nova Scotia is right in the middle. We're not too high, we're not too low. Some might say just right, some might say too hot. But that's something that we are working on, and certainly, things like attracting businesses and building civic centers, they all cost money. And certainly, these are the demands from the business community to do these things. So we just don't have a bottomless pit of money to pick from. So, it's one that we'll have to work on.
And Kelty has indicated she would like to make a rebuttal. Kelty?
I would just like to point out that whether a tax is able to be written off by a particular entity, either a residence or by a commercial, shouldn't weigh into the factoring on setting our rates. We shouldn't be saying, well, we're going to raise the rate on this business because they can write it off. It's still an expense. It's even a deductible expense is still an expense. That's one of the things that I learned in my tax law class when I was in law school.
I say it's an investment, not an expense. Basically, if you're gonna run a business, you have to spend money, you have to invest, and town hall is no different. We have things that we want to do, and basically, when you want to build a riverside park, that is a revenue eater, not a generator. And I'm interested in revenue generators, and so I don't think we're far apart on that issue, and it's always a challenging one.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to the next question, and Bill, we'll let you tackle it first. How would you encourage further development within the town of Truro?
Well, I do sit on the Industrial Society, and one of the things that we've just done, as a matter of fact, is we've expanded our business park. One of the challenges, of course, is your tax rate, which we just got done talking about. And certainly the tax rate in the county of Colchester is a little less than the tax rate in the town of Truro. And that's the same for towns all across the province. That's a big issue, and that's why towns in Nova Scotia, and if not across the country, are all having a struggle. Because what can happen is that a business decides to come to our area, they locate just across the town boundary. And who ends up usually paying for services, whether it be police or fire protection and other things like that? It's usually the town. So what we try to do is we have hired our own industrial promotions officer, not to compete with Colchester Regional Development Agency, but complement. And that's why we have been so busy working with this company in Austria with solar panels. And if that company should locate in Truro, that's 100 jobs or more. But they also have about 3 other applications that they do that quite interested in that can, in the future, lead to new manufacturing facilities and new jobs. So we get this one. If we can get this one good success story, my vision is to have one of their major size solar panels outside the Civic Center, and we will give the old Mastodon Ridge a run for the money as far as tourism, but also drawing attention to the fact that we are going to become a green town in Nova Scotia.
Thank you, Bill. Kelty, how would you encourage further development?
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a matter of paying attention to our infrastructure, paying attention to our reputation, paying attention to what we can offer to businesses when they come here. Do we provide a community where they can attract people to work here? Do we provide a community where workers can get to work? Do we have a way for workers to get to them once they locate here? Do we have the kind of infrastructure in place that really generates jobs? We've been doing a lot of investment and a lot of really phenomenal new buildings in town. We've got a lot of really interesting things, but I think it's time to start investing in some things that will generate jobs and bring jobs to the community as well. It was interesting in the paper a few weeks ago. There was a column by a consultant who's worked with a lot of different municipalities, and he pointed out that it's time for the towns of Nova Scotia to come together and to really promote themselves throughout the rest of the country, so that people understand that Nova Scotia is more than just Halifax, that we have some really amazing places for people to live and learn and grow, and that we can do that more effectively as a group and as a team. And when I called him to talk to him about it, and I asked him, what kind of response have you gotten? He said he had gotten none, that the governance of the municipalities really hadn't reached out to him after seeing this, and he was surprised by that, and I think a little bit saddened by it, but I thought it was a really exciting opportunity, pooling resources and finding ways to leverage what our small investment can be, like working with Corda. That's a really important tool that we have available to us, and it's something that we need to really be taking advantage of. Now, it's interesting the mention again of the potential for the solar plan. We've heard a lot of potential investments and a lot of potential opportunities over the past few years, and we haven't necessarily seen them. There was a development by Wade Road that was being discussed, never happened. There was a big condo building, it never happened. The most recent announcement about the solar is that within 2 weeks we probably have something. We have nothing yet. So we need to make sure that we're investing in things that will really come to fruition.
Okay, thank you. Bill, would like to make a rebuttal?
Yeah, the Wade Road development was the same developer, and basically the talks went along fairly well. As anybody who comes to the area to express an interest in building a business here, I will talk to them, and on paper, everything looks pretty good. This guy particularly came with some baggage, and certainly that's out of my realm of control. But one good thing is that we do have people who are looking seriously at our area. Depending on how the Canadian economy, the U.S., and the European economy goes, all bets are off, because that's the kind of environment that we are working in right now. And I don't care how much money you spend on basically promoting your area. As the KPMG study cites Truro, Nova Scotia, as #1 in North America for the low cost of doing business. And so basically, people know about that. And I'll talk about it because it does create a buzz. So.
And Kelty, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Well, just mentioning that there's, the Wade Road thing didn't happen because there was somebody who came with baggage. A simple internet search on the company that's involved with solar brings up lots of stories about restructuring, layoffs, different things. Have we done our homework? Are we sure that what we're talking about and touting as being the next best thing is something that really can come about?
Okay, thank you.